Great. Thanks a lot, all of you, for joining this great panel discussion. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everyone who have registered for this great webinar from different countries and want to witness the great session happening today. Good day from AI Core Spot team to everyone. Hope you and your family are doing safe. Today is the great webinar we are going to see, which talks about drive efficiency in the healthcare industry with cloud. To begin with, let me introduce myself and the company to you. My name is Nitin Naveen, and I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI Core Spot. Have great experience around a couple of decades in the consulting firms dealing in and around the emerging technologies. Further, I've been joined by my colleague Arvind and Naveen, who is also assist me in keeping the event lively and resolving some technical glitches if it comes in between. So thanks a lot for them to putting in hard work and making this one a huge success. We'll try to provide a seamless experience to all of you so that you can gain maximum output out of the same. Let me provide a brief background to all of you about AI Core Spot, how we started a journey. We started a couple of years back, backed up by InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. Our mission is to serve as a hub for information regarding Industry 4.0 technologies. The focus is to provide all of you a deep dive in all the sectors wherever technology is there. And every month we have a separate theme. We are gaining momentum month on month. Our aim is to be number one AI-driven community all over the world so that like-minded people like you can be a part of the same in supporting, growing, and making it a success. The focus is to do a lot of industry-backed webinars and hybrid events. The knowledge base will be made from reliable data through subject matter experts, industry leaders, thought leaders, and our partners. We'll enrich the content through digital content, videos, blogs, podcasts, newsletters to shed light on the ever-evolving industry. Today, we are having a lovely and unique webinar around the great theme which lays emphasis on benefits of cloud adaptation for healthcare organizations. So if you want to know parameters defining the efficiency of healthcare, different approaches to achieve those, and how healthcare is adapting to cloud technology and much more, then you are in the right place. We'll go all over it throughout the panel discussion and give lots of insights to you. There are lots more in store for next month with focus on different technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR, metaverse, digital twin, and quantum computing. So request all of you to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io, for future updates. Also, please like our social media handles, which will keep you all updated on everything what we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. Before starting with the day, I would like to highlight few things so that it can set up the tone for the amazing learning and networking day. A special mention about our partner, knowledge and innovation partner, who is InfoVision, who has supported us since beginning and provided us the right support to bring the community together. Some brief about them. InfoVision is an end-to-end IT and business service provider specializing in providing technology transformation and innovation projects for over 25 years across multiple industries and serve 12 global locations, including US, Latin America, Middle East, and India. They also have a unique state-of-the-art research and innovation lab named Digit7 in Richardson, Texas, with 5 great innovative products. So to get in touch with them, kindly log on to the website, which is infovision.com, and leave your details through the contact us section. Now coming in and moving to our community partners for today, it includes 3 great leaders from CVS Health, Presbyterian Homes, and Salesforce who came together to make this webinar a success. Special mention to attendees of the event who registered and came today to achieve their objectives through this forum. At the end of the day, if you gain few things out of this or get to network with each other, our core objective as a platform will be achieved. Further, if anybody wants to ask questions, they can type it in the Q&A section. You can type in as and when the panel member speaks, and we'll try to get it answered as per the time permitted. Now let me hand over the stage to Ashwini, who is the Global Practice Head handling Salesforce practice at InfoVision, and who is the moderator for this panel discussion as well. He's joined by 3 great leaders, Anand, who is Lead Engineer, Data Engineering at CVS Health, Vince, who is Chief Information Officer at Presbyterian Homes, and James, who is the healthcare expert. So over to you, Ashwini, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thanks, Nitin, for a great introduction about all the speakers, including myself. And thanks all attendees who are joining for this particular webinar. Um, my name is Ashwini, and I head the global practice of Salesforce and InfoVision. Guys, I'm equally excited and thrilled um, to moderate this particular webinar. And the reason being, today we have a great speakers. How great the webinar could be with Anand here, who is the lead director for data engineering in the CVS Health, and Vince, the CIO for Presbyterian Homes, and James with a great experience in the healthcare industry, with a great organizations like Salesforce, VMware, Microsoft, and all. So I welcome all of you to start the webinar, the sessions, discussions. I'm sure this is going to be great learning sessions for all of you, including myself, to listen from all the speakers over here. So thank you all for attending. Well, so today the topic we are going to talk about how to drive the efficiency in the healthcare industry, and keeping in mind the cloud. So, cloud is something in last few years has emerged and going everywhere, irrespective of any industries. And healthcare is not exception to that. So, I'll start with James. So, James, our topic is driving efficiency with the cloud in the healthcare industry. So, let me start with you speak about the same to the audience. What does it mean? So, James, can you start with that?
Yeah, so for me, in first, you called me a healthcare expert. I'm always careful using the expert moniker. I know enough to be dangerous. How about that? But I've been around this space in some of the largest software companies around trying to drive innovation for healthcare for quite some time now. But what I'll say is, from a cloud perspective, you can think about this in many ways, right? You can look at it from a SaaS perspective. You can look at it from an IaaS perspective. You can look from a PaaS perspective. And even now, we can even see it as an AI as a service perspective. But all of these things have something in common, and that is it allows an organization to take advantage of resources, expertise, capabilities, and innovation, which is probably one of the most important pieces of this, that are being provided at scale that organization itself did not have to build on its own. It's actually taking advantage of the investments, the expertise, the capabilities of other organizations and bringing it to their organization and making it work for them. And I think that's what the cloud does. Basically, it democratizes this innovation. And it does that for large companies as well as small companies. And I think that's the secret sauce. Before, everything was reliant on an individual organization's ability to invest, to staff up, to have facilities, to train people, onboard them, get them to maintain and build on those platforms. But now you can take advantage of that without having to do a lot of those things. It does not mean you don't need to have your own people, your own infrastructure to make those clouds work for you, but your investment, your time to market, the value you can ascertain quickly has changed significantly with cloud adoption.
That's great. That's a great insight, James. Anand, would you like to talk on that as well? So I repeat, um, the topic is driving efficiency with the cloud in the healthcare industry. So what does that mean to you?
Hey, good morning, everyone. First of all, and thank you for this opportunity to be in front of everyone to talk about efficiency in healthcare, which is in itself is an important and a great topic because it affects millions of people here in the United States and across the world. So, to me, efficiency, yes, cloud is one aspect of it, and James brought in great points about cloud, and um, cloud is an enabler of efficiency. But if you look at the other end of the spectrum, setting aside cloud and talking about the efficiency or inefficiency within the healthcare system itself, right? So if I look at the society, we have healthcare providers, we have the on the other side the consumers, the patients, and in between as the health plan and employers and everybody playing a bit of role, right? So taking this all into consideration, when we are talking about efficiency, it's the measure of performance, how well you are delivering healthcare services and how well you are bringing the health outcomes for the individuals. And when we are talking about efficiency, it means different things to different people. So when it comes to patient, the experience is the utmost important thing that they have in mind, like what kind of experience that I derive based on the episode that they are involved in. And from the provider perspective, how well I'm taking care of my patients and how well I'm delivering the treatment to the individuals. And from the hospital perspective, how well I'm operating. The organization as a hospital system as a whole is operating and delivering a particular service. And also looking at the other end of the spectrum, right? Like health plans, or for example, even pharmacy, the area that I'm in. So drug manufacturers, for example. So there are a lot of efforts, research that goes in bringing a drug to a market. And that also involves testing the efficacy of the drug. So the amount of time, resources spent on these kind of activities is directly impacts the efficiency and the affordability of that particular drug coming into the market. So how those drug manufacturers are taking advantage of the latest technology. For example, COVID has been a great example in this, where vaccines have been delivered in such a short time frame with mRNA technology, and that's to me that's a mark of efficiency in bringing a drug to a market at a very short period of time. Of course, drug when you're talking about drug, the cost is another factor, right? So in this case, economies of scale was there, so vaccine didn't cost much. But if you're talking about specialty drug, so it's going to, that is one of the key areas in the pharmacy side. How can I make the specialty drugs affordable to the consumers, to the patients, right? That's another area of efficiency. So to me, bringing all these things together and of the entire ecosystem working together to deliver that efficiency is what I consider as efficiency in the healthcare world.
Wonderful, wonderful, Anand. I think I really completely agree with you that, efficiency is one of the central preoccupations of health policymakers and managers. Well, Vince, what are the parameters you think it defines the efficiency of the healthcare?
Sure. My colleagues hit up some great topics as far as points wise, right in the head, actually. So I'm going to take it just a little bit different and just focus on, the cloud has brought a different talent to the table altogether, right? There's stuff I couldn't do 10, let's say 20 years ago with the people at hand. And they become more versed, first of all, as far as programming is concerned, as far as different infrastructure is concerned, and also the time that's spent on a particular project has changed dramatically also. I feel it's definitely prospered for the cloud portion of it. Has it made it shortage wise? It sure has, because the cost of everybody's gone up, which is all right. That's a great thing to say, but we just have to invest more as far as talent's concerned as companies do, right? I think the colleges are lacking in that perspective of it. I think more companies have to do more training because they're not getting in the college level, whatever, the school level. They're getting more on hand, and they have to invest more in their employees to take it further, and also to create that continuation of employment advancement on top of it, to be able to assert the cloud even more and have that longevity grow with the cloud because of the knowledge and experience, rather than taking off and going somewhere else and then trying to learn something new again.
Wonderful.
Can I jump in here for a second? So, listening to Anand talk about the different stakeholders we have in healthcare and how they all approach the cloud is also important, and where they're trying to drive efficiencies. when we right now in the provider space, a lot of the focus is on the consumer experience and trying to improve that experience, improve engagement, and get better outcomes that way, and do that in a cost-efficient manner. We're digitizing more in healthcare. I think the efficiencies will come beyond digitization when we can actually automate some of the workflow, some of the processes in a way so that we can provide the same high level of quality, do it cost effectively, but also do that so that we can do it and address the people shortage that we have. Because if all we're doing is digitizing the processes, but we still need increasing numbers of manpower, human power, to execute or finish the job, so to speak, then we haven't done our job and gotten the efficiencies where we could. And to Vince's point, we've gotten efficiencies at scale because we can actually do more than we were capable of doing, and doing it faster at a faster rate than we were able to do. So a combination of those three things is how we ultimately get to the efficiency we need in healthcare to lower the cost, increase access, and improve the outcomes, and then give a great experience, not only for the patients, the consumers and their families, but also to our caregivers and their families, and our administrators and their families. Everyone has a stake in this game and benefits from those efficiencies.
Sure. I just want to piggyback off of that. Great examples is, we're using robots for servers because I can't find high school kids to serve in the morning or at night. So let's say they make, I don't know, $30,000 a year roughly, whereas a robot's $15,000 a year. I mean, someone still has to take it off the table of the robot, or sorry, the plate of the robot for liability reasons, because of hot soup or something like that. But still, they're saving time, and they're also serving the customer, and the customer likes it. It's newer technology. It sings happy birthday on those days, and it goes back to the kitchen when it's finished to reload. Yeah. And it provides a service and also efficiency also on top of it. And there's another way in healthcare also does it in therapy too. So those VR games you see your son and daughter play with the headsets and everything on, we use those for therapy. To help with as far as geo around them, as far as when they're going to fall, and they know they're going to fall, they get used to it, right? And they know how to be able to perception-wise with the gear on, so they take it off. It's different perspective, and we can measure how far or less advanced they're getting in their treatment. So it's definitely a lot of different versatile ways of the way efficiency with the cloud is happening here with the data that's flowing out there fastly.
Oh, wonderful. Great. I think Vince and James is really a great discussion on the topic. Anand, you being lead director data engineering at the CVS Health, what approach you follow to maintain efficiency in your organizations? So I'm sure audience is going to learn how you maintain efficiency specific to your organization. So Anand, are you going to talk on that? Anand, you are on mute.
Okay, CVS as an organization has many different wings. And the area where I'm in more on the pharmacy side, and particularly focusing on the analytics. So the efficiency that I drive within the organization is in the area of like how I can bring in the data, the relevant data to in a centralized place, and then leverage analytics to drive insights and bring efficiencies to the operations, and bring efficiencies to the health plans that we deliver and administer for our members, right? So to that extent, um, the way that we are, I deliver efficiency within the organization is looking at the spectrum of the systems that we have and eliminate redundancy completely, and look at the manual processes that are there in the in the pipeline or in the ecosystem, and see how I can eliminate those manual processes and automate them and get them into the cloud. The second thing is integrating the systems, right? So especially when we are talking about data, when we are talking about analytics, um, without having real world data, it's very difficult to drive meaningful insights. So to that effect, we need to have the data just not from one area of the business, but from all the areas of businesses that we are in. So for example, we are talking about claims data, we are talking about pharmacy data, drug data. Everything has to come together in a single place where we can go ahead and then um, put in the engine that drives the analytical engine that will serve as a platform to derive insights from the data that we are putting together. So that cannot happen without integrating the systems. So how I can extract the data from different systems and bring it to a common platform. That's another thing. And the third thing is, of course, from experience perspective, right? Getting everybody on the same page. If I have to go ahead and then drive data and analytics, one thing that is really, really important is that is one of the most inefficient thing that had been existing in the healthcare system is everybody were doing things on their own, right from the partners, even from within the organization, how various department functions, there are a lot of manual handovers that happens. It's very critical to have an integrated workflow within the organization so that everybody is on the same page and the data that we need can easily be ingested from this particular integrated system all along to a centralized location where we can uh, uh, derive insights from that. So that's how I derive efficiencies by looking at how best I can leverage the data that I have and how I integrate them, bring them onto a single platform, and put analytical engine on top of it and derive insights from that.
Great insight, Anand. I think I really learned to automate. One is to make the data in a single source of truth where the data could be found out, and automating the manual business processes you talked about, and also integrating many third-party systems coming together. That's the key. That's what I take it from your discussion, Anand, to manage the efficiency in your organizations. You do. I'm sure other organizations can follow this and do this to maintain the efficiency of the organizations. Wonderful. Thanks, Aaron, for the great insight. Well, I'll come to Vince. So Vince, you being a CIO for Presbyterian Homes, so can you talk about the same questions? Let me repeat. What approach you follow to maintain the efficiency in your
Hit a
organization?
lot of the stuff on around the head again. You know, I have tons of data to manage, and I'm trying to prevent silos because it's so easy for someone to say, "Hey, I found this program and I'm running this program on the side, and it works very well." It's so simple, right? For these ghost data sets to come up anywhere on stuff that's not compliant, and I'm trying to prevent that because I'm trying to have everybody use my data, and so I have to be aware of everything technology wise within matter of days to make sure it's properly collaborated on across the board. Everybody down from the line worker all the way to the guy at the top level with me to make sure that we're all on the same page at all times to prevent this. It's very difficult because there's so much new stuff out there that pops up that I can't even keep track of it. You know what I mean? And I have a very team that's very astute to everything that's out there, and yet they asked me, and I was like, I had never heard of this. Let's look into it. You know what I mean? That type of thing, and get an answer out there quickly to prevent that type of ghost data that's out there. It's very frightening.
Yeah.
And the next thing is also the overall training of the data itself. You got to make sure you have a great baseline to start from first, and that's where companies go wrong. They don't have a good baseline to start off with, and then they're looking at the wrong data altogether. You got to make sure your data is relevant to the industry overall. Make sure that it's relevant to what you're doing. That's something that's true to us. We look at that data all the time to make sure it's in a proper model that we believe in and also abide by, and then no one tries to go from that model. And it also, it's a platform that we stick with, and as a whole, we all agree to it.
Yep. Thanks, Vince. Well, so we talked about efficiency, how to achieve this within a variety of the organizations. Well, let's come to the cloud. Cloud is one topic we're talking about. So gone those days, without clouds, things were being managed. But now cloud is everywhere. But now doing a solution and managing the cloud is a different ballgame altogether. This is a different approach altogether. Well, James, I saw your profile and you have a huge experience in Salesforce and other organizations as well. And I know in Salesforce, a lot of cloud solutions are there. So with your experience, James, could you elaborate on how efficiency can be managed specific to the cloud solutions on healthcare industry? Can you talk about that, please?
So this one gets really tricky, right? Because one, as I mentioned it when I first kicked this off, is the different perspectives of clouds you can look at, right? So, let's start at the baseline, right? Let's start at the infrastructure itself, right? So the data center, right? So you can operate your data center in the public cloud with any of the hyperscalers today, for the most part. And which platform you use will be based on, contractual benefits, alignment with as Vince mentioned, the skill set of your teams, alignment with your tech stack, your data stack, all those types of things, right? But at the same time, there are microservices in those hyperscalers that you may want to take advantage of. So your ability to access different public clouds, leverage those microservices, then deliver quickly to your organization, whether that be a payer organization, a provider organization, life sciences organization, comes into play. And Vince talked about it in how you leverage those clouds are extremely important, and having the skill sets and the people student enough to understand them. You may not know all the details of every application that comes up, Vince, right? You may not know every data set, but if you can keep them all centered around a core set of infrastructure platforms, then you can figure out which SaaS services you take, which PaaS service you take, whether you decide to put an automation platform on top of it or a data integration platform on top of it. It synthesizes some of the things for you. And then while you still have some wild, wild west things going on, you may be able to at least design the parameters so they stay within your preferred cloud stack or your preferred cloud stacks. As many people, we had a move towards a single cloud. I think everybody's moving away or starting to become more multi-cloud threaded. But I think that's the purpose, right, Vince? And I would love to get your comments as a CIO, how you manage that. But I think that's kind of the area you would like to see. And the interesting thing for healthcare, this is not, it may be new to healthcare, but this is not new to the financial services industry. It is not new to retail. It is not new to a logistics industry. Other industries have figured this out. We're just in the early stages of this evolution for the healthcare space. And I believe we're going to get there. And not only I believe it, we don't have an option not to, but that is the world we live in. And I'd love to get Vince's take on it because he lives it even more so than I do every day.
So you mentioned consolidation. It's so true, right? Just in healthcare, you're right. It's so slow. It takes years for us to get stuff done because there's such bureaucracy from the government's perspective and also internally to get something, approved. But yes, I do have different clouds out there. Yes, I have the two major ones that you're referring to, AWS and Azure, that we play in, so to speak, and we do have production stuff in there. But I also do have stuff locally for insurance reasons wise to protect ourselves in case something goes wrong as far as the internet and things of that nature, right? Because I have clients that are, some are life support, some are not, and they depend on that data. If something should go wrong, the line goes down, internet goes down, or Azure's not working that day, I'm liable for that. So I got to make sure that we have redundancy built in. And that's where that mobility portion, we believe that will take us with the cloud. They'll take us to the next level. And we're still adopting it though. We're so small on that portion of it. Whereas there's other, you mentioned the financial district and these other ones. Yes, they take full advantage of it, but we're still protective and careful that we have to take slower steps, to ensure the reliability, to ensure the risk is lower for us, because we can't afford to be on the news. We can't afford, obviously, some health incident occurring for a mass majority here. So it'll take some time. I give it it's almost like manufacturing. Manufacturing is the same way. They're still behind the 8 ball, so to speak. They're another one. I give it maybe a couple more years where there's more consolidation in the industry overall as far as technology and the cloud is concerned, because I see less of that. I see more focus on Azure and AWS and get rid of other little guys that are trying to piecemeal off of it. I see more of that every day. So some of the bigger players will be your bigger vendors with the SaaS model that are relying on these AWSs and Azures out there, such as Epic, right? And your bigger one is Cerner and oh, good, I'm going down the list. American Health Tech, right? They're all going to just stay in the cloud, and they're going to be basically calling the shots to how that data is being used, which is kind of scary.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, well, James, you being ex Salesforce, do you want to talk a little more on what Salesforce as a cloud solutions for the healthcare? You want to talk on that?
So, Salesforce, built a purpose-built cloud for healthcare called Health Cloud. I think when I was at Microsoft, we built a purpose-built cloud for with Azure and Office 365, Microsoft Cloud for healthcare. I think the hyperscalers are all investing in this space and will continue to do so. I think where Salesforce focused in on the consumer experience and the physician experience, some of the things that they know extremely well, right? The relationship management piece of healthcare, because Salesforce has delivered relationship management solutions for 20 years in all of the other industries that we've mentioned so far, and is the industry leader for those. So they're saying basically, hey, we know what the expectations of the consumer are. We see what those expectations are across all these industries. We're going to build those experiences into a health cloud offering, and then take advantage of the digitization of the payer space, of the provider space, of the different lifestyles, and deliver similar type experiences that the consumer would expect off of that expertise that they built over 20 years, right? And I think that's the next piece of it. That's a different model and a totally compelling offering. And I'm sure that as they continue to invest and move forward, they'll make a lot of progress there.
Thanks, James. No doubt, Salesforce has incredible health cloud solutions. That's a health cloud as a product, and I'm leveraged.
Well, I would also say, if you think about it, it's
Yeah.
not just health cloud, right? So you have their marketing cloud, you have MuleSoft, you have a number of clouds that MuleSoft for interoperability. So I want to make sure that when you think about that there's multiple clouds delivering value into that space in what they will call a customer 360 offering. But that broad-based capability has been delivered, and it's being delivered on top of a hyperscaler, right? So that infrastructure has been run by AWS. It will be run by Google. It will be run by Azure. You'll have those infrastructure layers, and then that SaaS offering on top of it, as Vince mentioned. And I think Anand, from a CBS perspective, takes full advantage of some of those things.
Yeah, thanks, James. I could relate really, because heading global practice of Salesforce at InfoVision, and we have a healthcare solutions, and we have a couple of customers as well. Thanks, James, for that. And Salesforce is not the only one. I'm sure we talked about AWS and Azure as well. So Vince, I saw your expertise in that as well. So can you talk about AWS and Azure cloud helping healthcare industry? So you talked about.
It's amazing. Yeah. You look on the market, how much stuff is advertised. It's AWS compatible, right? Or Azure compatible. Majority AWS in this case. It such as the hockey pucks, I call them, right? That they advertise for Amazon. So the previous company, we routed that back to the ERP to do order lookup. It's just amazing how far they could take it. And it's cloud-based, obviously, but it's just amazing how adaptable some other products are that are on the market these current days that you could adapt to your ERP. In this case, it was manufactured previously, not healthcare. It's a little bit more different, but they're still trying. I just saw something else last week where they could use it as a call system. It's internally, but you use it as a call system rather than the phone itself. You can make calls internally for healthcare, but it wouldn't be able to order anything, obviously, off the internet. But to answer your question, it's just, data itself in healthcare is growing dramatically at 2 times the rate, but we don't have the capacity to maintain it. It's quite funny. But it's also serious at the same time. And that's going to be a problem, I say, in the next 2 years, because where are you going to put all this data? I don't think we can fit it anywhere. It's just crazy. The resources I have to spend to hold data that I have no idea what we're going to be able to do with this data on top of it it's very, very scary.
Thanks. Well, great. I think it was a great discussion on variety of cloud solutions. However, I think all agree with me that reliability and scalability is very important for the healthcare system.
Mhm.
So how various cloud solutions can ensure that? So Anand, you have not spoken quite some time. Yeah, can I ask start with Anand, then James, Vince, probably we can discuss the same topic. Anand, can you talk about how to maintain the reliability and scalability in the healthcare solutions?
Sure. So talking specifically about the data, right? One of the studies that I was looking into the other day said that like by 2025, the data growth that we are looking at is around like 175 zettabytes of data. And 50% of that is going to reside in the public cloud platform.
Mhm.
Think about that. And I'm sure healthcare data is a sizable of that particular portion that we are talking about, 50%.
Can't get rid of
So
anything.
you cannot get rid of anything. Yeah.
And you got to back it
Then,
all up.
sorry.
And you got to back it all up.
Yep. And you did that in a very secured manner, right?
Yeah.
Not to discount that. So, being as a lead of the data engineering practice in one of the leading organization in the healthcare, it's a nightmare, right? Because you need to have the right infrastructure to support the data at scale.
Sure.
You need to have the infrastructure to process at scale those data, and that's where cloud comes into picture, and it's an awesome platform for anyone to be in. The reason is it provides the flexibility of scaling out or scaling in or scaling up or scaling down. And think about you running an use case and you are building an ML model to support that particular use case, but your data science team is working on, like you said, like first of all, with the amount of data that we have, we need to go ahead and then make meaning out of that, right?
Yep.
That's first step. The second step is how can I develop a model that is going to give me the outcome that I'm looking at. And if you ask any data scientist, how challenging is that, right? And it's not, they go through various iterations of model development. And they come up with various different models before they zoom in on one model that is going to work. That means you are processing terabytes of data for each model, and you are not doing like 24/7. You are just doing it as and when it is needed on an ad hoc basis. From the organization perspective, think about if the cloud is not there, how much infrastructure that you have to invest and how much of that is going to be a wastage. That's where the capabilities that cloud brings in is enormous for any organization, so that they are taking advantage of the economies of scale. But on that front, from the organization perspective, like CVS, we are able to take advantage of that scale out and scale in capability. That's the first thing from the scalability perspective. Then talking about reliability, Vince was mentioning about that, right? Like you are having patients dependent on the system, and it's very critical for that system to be up and running 24/7, right? So the reliability aspect of it is built into the cloud with all the redundancies that they have. You take AWS or Azure or GCP, the zoning capability, the region capability, where they do have the backup system, the redundant systems that you can go ahead and then configure yourself. That's where the reliability comes in. Hey, I do have the system. I don't have to worry about if something goes down. I do have a backup system that comes up within few split seconds, depending on how you configure that, right? And the other thing is, which is very important, and it's a nightmare for any leader, leading the organization on the data front, is going to be, how can I safeguard my data, both from the security perspective, as well as how can I take, how can I not lose that data, right? When something goes bad, how can I recover from that? Cloud provides that inbuilt capability of the disaster recovery that we can take advantage of with all the redundancies that they are providing. So from the scalability and reliability perspective, yes, cloud offers varieties of features that you can configure and customize for your organization. And that's where I think with the amount of data and the analytics that goes on in today's world, I think we cannot have a better partner than the cloud service providers that we work with on a day-to-day basis.
Any thought you want to add, Vince, James?
Oh, so true. I mean, like I said, we 10, 15 years ago, we wouldn't be able to do it like this. The cloud, it makes it so much more scalable and more versatile for other applications. Whereas before, you were so locked into the server client mode that you couldn't do that. And a case in point, I worked at a previous company, this is years ago, SAP, and it was on site. And if I wanted to integrate something, it would cost me like another $750,000 to get it to work because it was on site. You know, it didn't have that fluctuation or availability to work integration into it. And now in the cloud, everything's so bot driven. It makes it so easy now. Everybody has a quick fix for it, and it's prepackaged. It makes it so nice, such as an API feed, for instance. I can name a vendor now that doesn't have an API feed that fits with the major players that are out in the market, which makes it so much easier for my guys and my team to get things done quicker if they want to either test anything or just put in production. It's thoroughly tested, which lowers our security risk because we know it's been vented because they're advertising it already, and we know we can trust that vendor, which is great from a security standpoint because obviously security is number one on my thing. Number two, obviously, is recoverability right then and there.
Well, I mean, I think you guys are touching on some great points because you think about the evolution of, and I spent some time in VMware, right? That ability to say, okay, now that we got this incredible data resource that we need to back up, store, and move the data around, we have these workloads or use cases that we want to deploy in the cloud, and those we need to have some ability to move around. And VMware is investing in moving the ability to easily move workloads across each of the hyperscalers from managed by a single pane of glass, so to speak, right? So imagine a world where now you've got access to all three hyperscalers, Azure, Amazon, GCP. You have your data that's fluid across, because if I have a VMware workload that uses that data, I can pick it up, leverage it. If I'm having issues with Azure that day, pick it up, grab it, point it at Azure, Azure takes over, and then I can say, okay, AWS backup, I move it back again, right? That's a world I envision being there a decade from now, if not sooner, which gives us the security that we're asking for because we're in trusted clouds. It gives us the workload flexibility to move things around. We get us reliability. And then it gives us data interoperability that then now when I have all the data stored in these platforms, now I can take advantage of those microservices, enable workflows, enable automation, turn on AI in a very robust way. I do believe AI as a service and automation as a service is the next layer of this, and especially in healthcare where we need it really badly because of the people resources we're not going to have to continue to provide the care we need to provide. I think those are the things that we're all trying to fight to get there faster. And so one of the things I think leaders in the healthcare space, we are going to have to get more comfortable with taking a little bit more risk to get to that innovation. And that is going to take a lot of push, not only with the stakeholders at the policy level. I think it's the consumers that are going to drive it. Let's back up 30 years, right? Remember when online banking started and everyone said, there's no way I'm putting my credit cards and stuff in the cloud and doing online banking, right? Well, people said no in the beginning. I think, Vince, you were in financial services at one point, right? Everybody said, oh, people won't do that. It's risk averse. Here's what happens. It's like the scales of justice. On one side, you have convenience and value. On the other side, you have risk and security. I believe that the consumer will choose to take more risk and give up some security for that value and convenience. We do it every day on these little things, right? We give up all types of security and take all kinds of risks for the convenience that we get for things that we need right now. I think when healthcare figures out how to deliver an experience where the consumer says to themselves, I'm willing to take more risk and willing to open up from a secure perspective to get to that outcome or get to that experience or get to that convenience, then we're going to be cooking with gas. But we're just not there yet.
Thanks all. Though the cloud, most of the cloud solutions has great features to take care of the reliability, scalability, and all. Well, with my experience, serving to a variety of the industries, maybe this is my perception, but what I feel, healthcare industry is a little slow to adopt the cloud technology. Do you agree, or can you put why this is so? Vince, can you put light on this?
Sorry, one more time. I looked away for 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. What I'm saying is, what I feel, healthcare industry is slow to adopt the cloud technology. So, do you agree, or if yes, then can you talk about why is that?
Well, it not only companies like me, but it's also the vendors too. Like, not all of them adapted quickly to AWS to put their product out there, into a SaaS model or just in general, because they didn't have the technology resources behind the scenes to make it happen, or they're still in testing and they just released it, maybe like 2 years ago at best for some of these healthcare companies that are out there to service us. And there's still more to go. They're still like, we're there, but we haven't perfected it yet. Well, I mean, from my standpoint, I love the company, the vendor I work with, but I might wait with them based on what they've done in the past until they get to that point where it's perfected in the cloud for me. I just don't want to take the chance. So that's why they're a little slower, and that's why overall the industry's like that too. They stick with something that's done so well that they're afraid to move off of it, and that's why it hinders the performance to get to the cloud matters. Now, has it changed a little bit? It has. I've been to a show in October for healthcare, and there's more vendors than there was the previous year, yes, and they're all trying something different to niche the market that they're in, which is great. But I'm looking for one single platform. I'm looking to consolidation. I'm not looking to diverse more. I'm looking to consolidate more because I have too much already to take care of. And my team can only handle so much too on top of it. I mean, the cloud's making that very easy for us, but on the same point, I just don't have the staff to manage it. But I definitely see it more consolidated, as I mentioned earlier, and also as far as perspective of data is concerned, it will continue to grow. But then at what point, as far as cost is concerned, does it come to that where I have to say, okay, maybe we're gonna go a different route with the data? You know what I mean? That we haven't come to yet, because I just continue spending more and more in AWS and Azure. And I don't know. I mean, it's always my budget. I have to budget more each year. And it doesn't seem like I'm reflecting any less on the infrastructure side in-house, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. So you talked about data. So how what the healthcare organization do to collect and maintain the big data to advance the efficiency? Anand, would you like to put your thought on this?
Yeah, before that, right, one another point to the previous question that I would like to add.
Sure.
Why the healthcare is really slow. Just for the reason healthcare is a highly regulated industry, and the risk involved in going and exposing the health information is highly impactful if something happens, highly impactful to the business in a more negative way. So that's one of the primary reasons, apart from what Vince mentioned, is one of the reasons why healthcare industry as such was very slow in adopting to cloud or any other latest technology. I'm not discounting here the legacy systems that we are dealing with and the complexity. It's if it is a new organization, it's a cakewalk for them to be on the cloud right off of the bat. But when it comes to a traditional organization, legacy systems pegs them back because there are a lot of complexity involved in for A, understanding the legacy system, and B, how you bring that go through the digital transformation process to bring everything onto the cloud and be business as usual, right? So that's where I think many of the challenges that has come through on why we are slow from the healthcare industry perspective.
Thanks, Arvind.
So to
Yeah.
answer your question around
Big data.
what do organization do,
Yes.
right, to collect data? So if I'm looking at it from the data perspective, right, I think that in a in three-step process here. Like one is ingest, and another one insight, and the third one is engage. So when you're talking about ingest, we are talking about, hey, as an organization, there is enormous amount of data that is being transmitted out there, be it from other partner systems and be it from some major healthcare devices. It could be from wearables that our patients have. So you have that data being like available through many different sources and many different channels. So the first thing what organization has to do is like, how do I ingest all those data into my data platform? So that could be data that is coming in batches. That could be data coming real time, right? And from different sources, the omni channels that we are talking about. So having that robust ingestion process to get the data where it needs to be for you to analyze is the first step in that process. The second thing is deriving insights from that, right? So that's where the cloud comes into picture, the capability of the cloud that offers enormous power with respect to the infrastructure, the processing engine that we can have. So the next layer is building that data processing engine, if you will, and to process the data that we are getting. So that I can go ahead and then derive the insights from that. If you have to do that, you need to have a solid data platform where you can bring all the data into one central place. Of course, there are a lot of discussions happening around whether do I need to go for data mesh or do I need to have a centralized data lake that could host all the data that I have within the organization. There is pros and cons to those solutions, but I'm not getting there. But an organization, you decide like how you want to handle your data in one centralized location, or you bring that mesh around of the data from different sources and but leaving the data where it is, right? That's the second thing that you need to do. The third thing is where you are going to engage the consumers from adopting that data and deriving the insights from that. To that perspective, one thing that I think about is even the data platform that we are talking about, it's evolving, right? We went from data warehouse to data lake, and we are in data lake house terminology right now. And that is providing ease with which you can directly access the data, be it like data science people, they just want the raw data that they want to go ahead and then analyze. But on the business side, they don't want that. They want a more structured data that they can quickly run reports on. So this data lakehouse is going to bring that capability that is needed to cater to the different needs of the organization. So if you're looking at the spectrum, ingest, insight, and engage is how I would think on how I'm going to get ready to collect the data and process that data within the organization.
Great. I think I wrote it down, Anand, your three steps for my learning. One is ingest, insight, and engage. So these are the three processes steps to be, followed. Wonderful. But one follow-up questions on the same. How can organizations become safe haven for healthcare data?
Yeah. So that's that's the biggest challenge for organization. Thank the cloud providers. There are some inbuilt capabilities that they provide where they encrypt the data at various levels. And when we are thinking about that encryption, we have to think about data at rest, data in motion, and data in use. And at every point of time, how the encryption can happen and how you can safeguard your data. And one another thing to think about from how you want to safeguard the data is um, this zero trust policy that every organization is adopting now. The zero trust framework that we are building as part of the architecture that we are putting together. What does that zero trust means, right? So when you say zero trust, that means we are saying no network edge. That means doesn't matter where you are, be it local or within your organization, within your firewall or in the public cloud, doesn't matter. Uh, Ransomware attacks or any other attack can happen. Doesn't matter if you are in a public or in a safe within the firewall of your organization at any point of time. So what does zero trust is going to help us do it, do that authentication at every level, at every point, and do that more at the real time and whenever it is needed and whenever some request is coming through. Just not do the authentication at one place and then give that accessibility to the person who is making that particular request. Rather, make as they progress along the spectrum of accessing certain data, make sure you are authenticating them at every level. That is going to put your organization in more at a safe place than just doing an authentication at one single place. And the other thing that is also very critical when we are talking about the data is having the data catalog, the right data cataloging tool that not only provides the information about the kind of data that you have, but you can also leverage the data catalog tool to provide um, or control the access that you can give to the resources within your organization. Who can view what type of data in a much more centralized fashion can happen if you are leveraging these kind of tools. So putting all this together, I think the way to go for organization to safeguard their data is to establish that zero trust policy within the organization.
Thanks. One in Q&A section, one question is there. If any one of you can, James, if you want to take, or Anand. The question is, how can healthcare organization ensure regulatory compliance when adopting cloud technologies?
I think, vetting your vendors, right, and ensuring that they're following, standards and policies at their level and doing what they can. And then making sure that they're aligning to standards with public cloud vendors that do the same. And I think that most of the vendors, at least for healthcare, have come a long way in addressing HIPAA and in addressing high trust. I think we've come, I don't see that as a hindrance anymore, as long as you stay within the hyperscaler world. Of course, there are some smaller clouds out there where I think you might want to investigate a little bit more and do a little bit more due diligence on. But all the major players have pretty much accomplished this, and all the people who align and build SaaS services on top of those public clouds have all taken advantage of those early stage platforms and followed those policies. I haven't seen a whole lot of totally risky, non-compliant applications in the cloud stacks in the recent years. There's still a few, but not many. I think everyone understands if you're going to play in healthcare, you've got to deal with the regulatory elements of it.
Yeah, that's a challenge in itself for every organization, right? Because the moment you move to the cloud, and yes, cloud gives the advantage of scalability and reliability, but controlling what kind of assets are there and keeping track of the assets that you have within the cloud is a challenge in itself for the organization. So to very specifically address the question that one of the attendee has around regulatory compliance and how organization can ensure, the only way to do that is to have the robust governance process and an audit process within your organization. So from the governance perspective, can you establish a centralized governance process and the kind of rules that you put in place based on the compliance changes that happens on a frequent basis, be it from the government or the non-government entity, and building that governance framework who keeps track of what goes on in the real world, what kind of uh, rules that we have to put in place to be in compliance, that's very critical. So building that governance framework and having that centralized governance authority or the committee within the organization is going to be helpful. And the second thing is frequent audit of your cloud assets is another key thing to ensure that we are staying in compliance with the regulatory changes.
And I think, what I've seen is, with working with customers like CVS, that governance between both organizations needs to be aligned and regularly reviewed. So Anand and I am pretty sure you regularly review, you have a governance model, you get down with, say you're on Azure or GCP or leveraging Salesforce, you have a regular governance and audit schedule with each of those major vendors. And then you identify gaps, if there are any, and then you build a plan to address those, whether those be addressed by your vendor or by yourself. But those things have to be continuous. It does not mean that you have no stake in the game in ensuring that regulatory compliance just because you are in the cloud.
It is a shared responsibility, right? When you're talking about the cloud platform, and we take utmost, we do that with utmost importance and care and ensure that compliance is the highest priority within our organization. So
Wonderful. Thanks, James. Thanks, Anand. Well, so as per the survey, 77% of the customer, they feel they are not connected to the service provider. What approach you'll follow to make your customer experience quick and consistent? James, you want to put your thought?
Again, I believe we're going to have to first leverage the best practices from industries and understand the expectations that the consumer brings from other experiences. A consumer doesn't say, I have a great experience, say they love Bank of America, right? And they love the experience they get with them, or Fidelity or E-Trade or whatever. And then they come in and go, okay, I love this experience and I stick with this organization because I love how they understand me. They give me relevant information when I need to help me make the right decisions for myself when I need to. But I'm going to my healthcare provider and I'm totally okay with that experience sucking. That's not how they think. They get frustrated. And soon as anyone in healthcare provides that type of experience, that's what they're going to navigate to. Right? And that's where they'll spend a majority of their healthcare dollars where they can. And then they'll go to other service providers when they can't get it from their preferred service provider. I think that is that next motion that healthcare the providers have to figure out. They have to understand that the expectation the consumer has have nothing to do with you lowering them because in healthcare you're behind everyone else. The consumer doesn't care, right? So those are the things that you have to work through. But I do believe the next piece of that is going to be in the automation, how we leverage AI to take care of at least repetitive tasks, things that we can automate to then allow for a higher level of experience and touch to be provided by a human being when necessary. And I think right now in healthcare, we have far too much human intervention at too many levels in the ecosystem, whether we're talking about payer, provider, pharma, life, it doesn't matter where you're talking. We still have a lot of work to do to automate repetitive process. And I think AI is going to be core to that.
Thanks, James. Well, Vince, one question for you. what are the new developments in terms of technologies happening in terms of cloud compared to before and now?
Sure. A lot of stuff is also driven by the government, believe it or not. For instance, during COVID, telemedicine became a big hit, whereas before it didn't really take off very well, right? It was kind of like not even on the spotlight of anybody's radar. But now, obviously, with COVID, it just gangbusters just went flourishing here. But it's still working its way through, far as the system's concerned. But then also, as I mentioned before, we use, in conjunction with the cloud, we use VR development with headsets for our therapy departments, and the data we get back off that helps us, as far as how continued therapy goes and what the perspective of the therapy continue on, or even for new customer evaluations wise, and that helps us there. We couldn't really do that without the cloud, as far as building up and expanding that even more than it already is, because those VR programs take up a lot of resources here, and the only way to quickly turn around would be in the cloud, and we're thankful for that. Other things for the cloud version of it would be, as I mentioned, the hockey pucks are becoming more and more popular, and that data is exponential as far as how much it spreads for other departments, such as facility maintenance of when they're using it, the time of day, according to what the issues are, what frequency it's being used, and that data is all being analyzed by facilities management, myself, the clinical people, and also the executives to see what they can pull out of it, not to mention security overall, the physical security people, to see what they can retrain out of it. It's still in infancy mode, but we're still using it. But I feel that it's going to keep on just growing, that perspective of the data growth we're looking at for different adaptable solutions that are out there. Another one I mentioned was the robots for our kitchen people, but it's small used in the healthcare world. But our food vendors are looking at the data that we're accumulating from what's being ordered, whereas we didn't do that as much as before. But now that the robots are involved and being sponsored by these different restaurant carriers that we do business with, that they're looking at data to see how they could use it, which is great. And that's where it's all going to come from. It's going to come from the outside sources. You mentioned, as James mentioned, the consumer for sure, 100%, but also from the vendors that are out there, because they have to be able to quickly assimilate and redirect, because they want to be in the game too, and they want to be able to make a profit of some sort, I assume, to be liable here for the future. But I see them doing more development on their own besides us, because we can't do it on ourselves. We try, because that's when the innovation comes out for my department. We're trying to also make the data work in one hand, but on the other hand, trying to be innovative, right? It's got a teeter-totter. I got to do both, and I got to make it work. And it got to be, obviously, it's got to be something useful and productive for my consumers, so they can make a valuable switch for themselves. Case in point is, are they going to still use their cell phone, or are they going to use a desk phone back in their room? And my point of view is, who uses a desk phone anymore, right? Everybody has a cell phone. It's a simple route. I can reroute the call instantaneously from that desk phone to a cell phone and make it more mobile. They're not limited anymore. So heck, why do I need copper wire? So I see definitely more innovation as far as the healthcare world goes, for assimilate room services, overall home direction for home health. Home health has prospered here because it's more tangible now for home health to work out there, and you can track them. You can track what they do. You get the customer right off when they're done. As far as service is concerned, I can track the time and attendance, how long they were, as far as the home health is concerned, as far as therapy, and just in general situations where they offer medicine. And it all goes back to the data of a mobile app. So definitely prosperous.
Sure. Yeah.
Adding on top of to what Vince was saying,
Sure.
all those innovations that he was talking about with the latest technology, innovation fuels other innovations, right? So what it is enabling us is collecting real world evidence and the real world data that is very critical, which wasn't available to, we are engaging patients digitally, and patients are not patients anymore. They are more as a consumers in today. Well, their mindset is shifting to a consumer mindset. Having said that, having this real world evidence and the data is very critical to engage them in many different ways and improve their experience, right? The overall experience, as well as those real world evidences also helping other vendors and the industries, other parts of the industries, like I was talking about drug manufacturers, the efficacy of a drug. This real world evidence is going to give them that quick feedback loop that they are looking for. Similar to like what we had with the vaccines for COVID, right? So the moment you had your vaccines, there is a text a notification that comes in like day 1, day 2, day 7, and collecting that data and looking for outliers or looking for some commonalities or patterns so that they can quickly adopt and make adjustments. Those are the things like beauty of like what we or the world that we are living in. So
Thanks, Anand, for the add-on. So probably with the time limit, I really can't stop myself to ask the last one. Well, today AI is something hot, new. AI is all the rage right now, and very hot in AI is something like the Chat GPT. So in Chat GPT, how do you view it? And AI in general applicability in the healthcare. So James, would you like to take it? How the AI like ChatGPT has
Yeah,
the impact in the healthcare?
this is a good one, and I've touched on AI a couple of times, but while I think it'll take a bit of time before we can see broad adoption of generative AI like ChatGPT in healthcare, just because of the risk aversion of the industry. You know, ChatGPT makes a mistake, and it can have drastic consequences for a patient. So I think that's going to take time before clinicians, administrators, regulators, policymakers will trust AI at that level to have really broad adoption. Now, converse to that, I do think there are some logical areas where opportunity can be tackled, like personalized medicine, where we actually tailor treatment plans based on individuals, the different hundreds of factors like biometrics, social determinant of health factors, personal preferences, to build out programs that will reduce risk of non-adherence by the patient and reduce side effects, or even increase their engagement by helping them believe that that treatment plan is their own. Now, it will take human intervention to make sure that is following best practices. There's no scary things in it that makes a mistake, but to generate it faster than the human being, have it then reviewed by the patient, the caregivers, and the clinician, and then come up with a personalized plan that keeps that patient engaged and allows them to really get to the outcome that we all would like to see for that individual. That, I think, that does give an opportunity for generative AI to do something. In more general for AI, I think the momentum will be on the automation of repetitive tasks. I think that's where we're going to see the first broad adoption going to occur, is those menial tasks that we do have hundreds or decades of information that tell us how the process should be executed, what the business rules are, what the data is telling us. We can automate some of those processes to a degree that we don't need a human being to do it at all. I think there are a number of those in the space, and I think you'll see a number of organizations go after those.
Great. Thanks, Anand, Vince, and James. Now we'll open for any questions, though we addressed few questions which came in the Q&A. Anybody wants to ask any other questions, we'll take it. Anybody from the audience?
I know it's Friday. They got to be awake.
No, but Vince, I think we talked a couple of questions they asked in the chat window, in the Q&A sections, which I asked in between. But yes, I agree, it's a Friday.
Thank you, Ashwini. And thank you for moderating this excellent panel discussion. And thank you, Anand, Vince, and James for giving your thought process. And it was amazing. The 1 hour we witnessed, it was a lot of ideas we exchanged about driving efficiency in the healthcare with cloud. That was the theme, and the ideas which gave amazing ideas. Thanks a lot for all of you for giving this. Just to wrap up, we would like to thank our community partners, great speakers and attendees who came together for enriching knowledge through this forum. As I said, we had some great set of panel speakers who came together to share thoughts. Just for your information, today's event was broadcasted in the YouTube page of our company. So all of you can go and see the recording anytime. Please log on to our website and like the social media channels. We'll be sharing lots of knowledge sharing topics, announcement of next events, details, and much more, which will help you register and attend the same. Also, we would like to thank InfoVision, which is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, which is technology partner. To understand more in depth and connect, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com, and closely liaison with them. Further, there are lots more in store for this year with focus on banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, energy, utility, and so on. So request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. Thanks, and do take good care of yourself. Have a lovely day and great weekend ahead. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you.